Welcome back to the Big Ranch Show. Thank you for joining me. Now, today we have a story coming out of Florida that's actually some pretty good news, at least for the moment. But first, some sad news from 8 years ago today. 8 years ago today in Florida, in Orlando, 49 people lost their lives at the Pulse nightclub, simply for going out to hang out with their community and to have a good time. An ISIS sympathizer, of course, came in and ended 49 lives, stealing those lives from their friends and families. And really forever altering lives around the country. Now, for me, I wasn't fully out back then. I wasn't out really to anybody when that happened. But it was a driving force for sure on why I ended up coming out later. And it was absolutely tragic what happened that night. All those people. Just tragic. And but it reminds me of why pride exists in the first place. Pride isn't about pushing our views on other people. Pride isn't about, hey, look at me. Pride is a celebration of our existence, a paying homage to those that came before us, those that fought and died, many of them, just so we can exist today. And even though times may seem bleak within the community, people are still fighting. And there's hope. It's not about pushing views. It's about existing and being proud that we're able to exist now. Because back when that first brick was thrown at Stonewall, most states in the country deemed being gay or part of the LGBTQ community as a crime. So just remember that. But that's one thing that the Pulse nightclub taught me or reminded me, was that people have come before so we can exist. But the hate in the world has not stopped. The hate still exists that they were fighting against. So as we move through the rest of this Pride Month, remember the people that have lost their lives just for existing, just because of who they loved or how they viewed themselves. Now on to the story that I wanted to bring you today. In Florida, some good news, and it's about time we see some good news for trans people in Florida. Judge Robert Hinkle ruled yesterday that the ban on gender-affirming care for minors cannot continue. Now, they were only looking at the provisions of the bills or the law that prohibited the use of puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones and other treatments like that, and like psychological help and things like that a lot of transgender youth need. And Judge Hinkle, let's find it here. Judge Hinkle stated that gender identity is real. Going on to say in his order, the state of Florida can regulate as needed, but cannot flatly deny transgender individuals safe and effective medical treatment. Treatment with medications routinely provided to others with the state's full approval, as long as the purpose does not support a patient's transgender identity. So it's basically stating that um, these medications that are prescribed to other people cannot be withheld from transgender people, even transgender youth, if they're provided, being that they're provided to other people at the state's full approval. So, like HRT is approved for a number of reasons, a number of purposes, um, and HRT is something that is used. Puberty blockers have been used in cisgender minors before for different medical reasons. Um, so he's saying that they cannot just flatly deny. They can regulate it, but they cannot flat out deny access to gender affirming care medications. Um, of course, this law was passed back in 2023 by the Florida Republicans, and then, of course, signed into law by Governor Ron DeSantis. It goes on to say in this article here, the order does not address the state's the state's law's ban on gender-affirming surgeries for minors and restrictions for adults, as the lawsuit did not challenge those provisions. Simon Chris, Transgender Rights Initiative Director for the nonprofit Southern Legal Counsel law firm, called the move a victory for the state of Florida in a statement. The federal court saw Florida's transgender minor health care ban and adult restrictions for what they are, discriminatory measures that cannot survive a constitutional review. Today's ruling blocks the state of Florida's cruel campaign to deny fundamental rights and basic health care to transgender citizens. So, all in all, this is a good thing for Florida. Of course, it's only temporary because, of course, a federal court blocks it. The Supreme Court or another court could unblock it, in a matter of days. So we'll see what happens down the road. But all in all, this is a good thing. I wish they had been able to challenge at least the restrictions on transgender or gender affirming surgeries on at least adults. I can understand not having them on children. That's perfectly fine in my assessment of things. But there again, I believe it should be left up to the individuals on all of it. It should be left up to the individuals, the parents, and the medical professionals that deal with that stuff. Not me or anybody else should have anything to say with what other people need. That's just how it is. We shouldn't get to tell other people what they need. And we definitely should not be blocking things like puberty blockers and things like that to transgender minors who could actually survive if they're on them. Many people talk about the potentials for side effects for puberty blockers. One, they're rare. Extremely rare. But two, if you have a transgender child who is in distress, and puberty is going to make that distress even harder, even stronger for them, would you not want to delay puberty until you can work it out? Till they can work out what's going on? Would you rather a child unalive themselves because they don't get care? Because that's what the state of Florida is telling people, that it's not that being transgender is wrong and that you should die. That's what they're saying. But this federal court said no. This federal judge understands that people exist, that trans people, exist. So I'm glad that Judge Hinkle saw it this way in the federal court. Hopefully, with him ruling it unconstitutional. Maybe it'll make its way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court will actually rule in our favor. I doubt it, because the Supreme Court's bought and paid for by Donald Trump and his far-right radical ilk. But we'll see. But for right now, for transgender people in Florida, this is great news. Maybe somewhere down the road we can find a way to get to where gender-affirming care is just naturally provided without having to fight for it, without states trying to ban it. And I really hope it comes sooner rather than later. I would like to be around for it. That would be great. Unfortunately, we probably got another 25 years of fighting before we get to that point. But we will see what's going on. Anyways, watch this space. I'll be back with more information on this when and if I see any more. All right, have a great day.